Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe you're good-looking, so always looking for and finding the good. You found good in abundance because you consciously tuned into Ion Las Vegas with your humble host, Barry Shore, the ambassador of joy. Now, you notice I didn't say the ambassador of joy. It's the ambassador of joy. And you tuned into this particular podcast because you know here we introduce some of the most the most energized, the most expert, the most interesting people in the entire planet. And they're right here coming through, passing through, involved with Las Vegas. So just to give you an example of something amazing, I travel the world, I speak around the world, and I talk to people around the world all the time. And if you mention these two words, Las Vegas, people's eyes open up. Everybody has heard about it, thought about it, and you got many people that come here. Just give you an example. If you take the entire population of New York City and everything around it, the entire population of Chicago and everything around it, the entire population of the city of Los Angeles and everything around the first, second, and third cities in the United States of America, add them all together, you don't get the number of people that come to and through Las Vegas in a year. More than 41 million people come to and from through Las Vegas in a year because it's a place of energy. It's a place where there's freedom. It's a place where people can express themselves. There's a lot of fun, a lot of entertainment. Yeah, of course, there's sex and there's money, but who cares about that, huh? All right. And we're about to engage with one of the more interesting people I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. And he's just going to give us some insights into stuff that really is going to expand your consciousness. You ready? Please welcome one of the most remarkable people I've ever had the pleasure of interacting with. And he is wonderful, Adrian Bohach. Adrian, please say hello to 501,613 people around the world.
Hello, boy, that is some high tempo introduction. So I appreciate it.
Well, you certainly deserve it, and so does I in Las Vegas. And I'm telling everybody, I'm admitting it, I am a groupie when it comes to Adrian. I love what he does. I love what he's about. I love his insights and such. If I started telling you all the things that he's accomplished thus far, it would take the rest of the show. I will give you 2 or 3 data points. Number one, Adrian is world-renowned thought leader when it comes to social enterprise. You'll understand that a little better as we go along. Number 2, he is the winner of something called the International Social Enterprise of the Year Award in the year 2020. Now, the year 2020 was a very interesting year in world history. He's a gifted leader, he's a visionary. He's going to be opening up something in the United States pretty soon, he told me, just on the QT, called Enterprise for Good, with a number 4, a numeral. So we're just going to jump right in and say, welcome, wonderful Adrian. Let's just start right away and talk about the big question that everybody asks. What is social enterprise, and why should we listen to you about it?
Well, the last part, I'll leave your viewers to make that judgment at the end. But if you Google the term social enterprise, you'll come up with 455 million definitions, and the one, lots of academics have looked at it and have come up with their own views and nomenclature of a definition. But my working definition is very short and sweet. Social enterprise is to use business methodology to accomplish a public good. And that's just...
Okay, let's repeat it one more time. To use business methodology to accomplish public good. Hello, isn't that sort of fundamental? And yet?
Well, it is. And when you sort of stare at that, those few words, so you have kind of 2 sections to it. You have the public good, which is the universe that the nonprofit sector lives in, and business methodology, which is where the for-profit sector generally lives in. And like in between those 2 things are sort of a chasm.
Let's call it an unbridgeable chasm at the moment.
Well, it is, because business rightly or not rightly, would view the nonprofit sector, not in glowing terms, and may think that they're flakes and not credible, not to be taken seriously, although they do good work. But from a business point of view, not so much. On the other way, looking across the chasm from the nonprofit side, then business are considered to be capitalist pigs, sort of thing. I'm probably being a little too forceful in my thoughts, but the two is like oil and water. So when you put the two together, what you have is enterprise that is sown to the public good, because the addressing the public good actually helps the success of the business, and the opposite. So one does not do as well without the other. So a nonprofit can go along and fundraise and do all the things that they've done for decades and centuries with the modest outcomes that they have, and the for-profit people do whatever they do. But when you see how the two things can combine together for a much bigger win for both.
So this is the reason that I enticed and pleaded with Adrian to be here. First of all, succinct. Second of all, pointed. And thirdly, beneficial to both parties. You see, when business can now look upon nonprofits as a good sector, and nonprofits can look upon business as a good sector. So now we can begin the process of building a bridge and say, okay, now that we look at each other as beneficiaries for each other, how can we help each other maximize, leverage everything we've learned together to do the most social good? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it is. I mean, and you have to understand what social enterprise is, and what it is not. It's really misunderstood. It's been a concept that's been going in Europe for 100 years. I mean, it was sort of created between the First and Second World War, so it's been going on in Europe for a very long time, and a very early innings here in North America. United States is way further ahead, for example, than Canada is. I'm a Canadian. So the Americans have really paved the way in North America with the introduction of social enterprise, both on the for-profit and nonprofit side. But the misunderstanding comes really sort of cuts deep into the values of both sides. So, for example, the nonprofit sector looks at social enterprise, and all they see is the money. And geez, we do this kind of enterprise, we have this kind of business, it'll generate money, and then we don't have to fundraise so much or grants or whatever. So social enterprise from many people in the nonprofit side just see social enterprise as a funky new way of fundraising. On the other side, the business folks, the for-profit people, see social enterprise as a funky new way of marketing. So when you see Kellogg's I shouldn't pick on any one company, but a cereal company, say, you go in the cereal aisle in a grocery store and you see that a particular company supports, sorry for the dinghy, supports sustainable nut farming in the Amazon basin or something like that. So that's, it would motivate people to buy that product, especially if it's a low differentiated product rather than somebody else. So that's called cause-related marketing. So it's in the early innings, there's this continuous sort of misunderstanding. But when you put the two things together, what you have actually is a fourth sector. It's not government, it's not for-profit, it's not nonprofit. It is a fourth sector called social enterprise, which is what exists in Northern Europe, Scandinavia, and the UK.
So let's share some ideas with a worldwide listening audience. Worldwide, and the people in Nordic countries, people in Asia, and throughout Africa, and United States, North America, and South America. There's a wonderful couple terms that you mentioned. One is CRM, and the other is what we call in the United States conscious capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Conscious capitalism is the attempt, and most of the time successful, of understanding using business principles to further the process of benefiting as many people as possible in the, how should we go, all the stakeholders. And the stakeholders are everybody who runs the business, people who buy the products and services, people who benefit from the products and services, everybody wins. That's the overarching idea. What we call in my world the ecosystem of good. That's what we built with something called Einstein Cares, the ecosystem of good. And so when you say this, the term CRM in a business setting,
Right.
people don't think like you did, what you just said, and that's why I want to discuss it, cause-related marketing. Isn't that interesting? You're using the word cause and you're using the word marketing. And by the way, personally, I prefer not calling nonprofits charities. Everybody, okay, we use the term charity because it's a common word. However, charities to me has a less appealing of idea than a cause. For instance, a charity is something that almost always has its hand out, says, give me, because I'm doing great work and you should support me.
Right.
Fine, nobody argues. A cause is something that's rushing after, that's trying to get something, that's chasing. A cause is something, look how attractive I am, look what I'm doing in the world. And people say, I want to be part of that. That's a cause.
That's right.
Marketing is the ability to leverage the heart aspect of human with the mental aspect, what we call the mind-heart continuum, to say, well, obviously I will do what it is that's in my best interest, which also helps somebody else. Or I will do what's helped somebody else, and it's in my best interest. In other words, if I can buy product X, like you said, and by the fact that I'm buying it, and whatever the amount of money is, whether it's $5, $5,000, $5 million, and something goes of that to the cause, well, is there anything more beautiful? I don't think so. So I love what you're saying here, cause-related marketing. It's about money, and it's not laundering money, but it's keeping money as what it is, the most beautiful tool in the world.
That's true. So, if I can sort of channel my inner philosopher, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and it came up with the term enlightened self-interest. So,
yes,
cause marketing is all about enlightened self-interest. So, if you're going into a grocery store or any kind of product or services that you want to buy, and if it's attached to any kind of a cause, given relative equality and price, availability, quality, just ease of obtaining the product, whether it's online or in the store or something like that. So things have to be relatively equal. In marketing terms, that's called low differentiation. But if you're facing a choice, and this happens in a millisecond, just like this, you're looking at General Mills and Kellogg's or something for cereals, and you see one of them supporting a particular cause, and it may not even be your cause. Like nut farming may not be cancer or heart or something like that, but it doesn't matter because it's an enlightened self-interest. You can make a decision, a buying decision, because you're getting what you want in the same quality, at the same price, and the same availability, and at the same time, you're leaving a little bit of a legacy.
So I love this. So speaking about enlightened self-interest, we have people companies that sponsor our show. We love them, and we wouldn't have them on. We didn't think they're worthy of your time and attention. Don't go away. There's more of this remarkable being named Adrian on the other side of this. We'll see you in just about a minute. Be right back.
What if you could shop at your favorite local stores, swipe your current credit card, and get extra cashback rewards? And what if you could also have donations sent to your favorite cause at no extra cost to you? What if this amazing program was absolutely free and very simple to set up? Well, What If is here. Welcome to Einstein Cares, where your everyday shopping gives you and your favorite cause extra money. It's fast, it's easy, and effortless.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. You'll be good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. Our cup runneth over with good. His name is Adrian Bohach, and if there was ever a show that worked well with the sponsor, or the sponsor, whether there was perfect what you just said. It's amazing. It's what Einstein cares all about. Like you just said, the same product, the same price, and doing good at the same time. I mean, okay, enlighten.
By the way, we didn't. So the viewers should know we didn't plan this.
No, not at all. That's they said, well, you see, the good Lord is in charge. But so, Adrian, I want to do two things. I want you to speak a little bit more about the strategy of solving social issues and solving the issues in other words, what are the issues in the nonprofit sector? I do want to share with you, though, during the break, I created an acronym for your name because we love acronyms. Can I share that with you?
Sure.
Adrian is ADRIAN. Adrian stands for Awakening Determination, Resilience, Inciting Abundant Nobility.
Wow, that's
that's who you are. Because what you told us in the very beginning, to use business methodology for public good is the most succinct, straightforward, and success-oriented definition that I've ever heard regarding this process that really, I think every business person, every nonprofit person is moving towards. They just didn't realize it. So tell us what you think is at the moment, what is the stumbling block in the nonprofit sector? Is it that people just don't think the same way as people in the business sector? Is it a mental process? What is that's holding this nonprofit sector back? And then we'll talk about what's holding the business sector back.
Well, sure. So there's a few barriers or stumbling blocks. One of them is attitudinal. A lot of people in the social sector, nonprofit, whatever you want to call it, are people who tend to be skeptical of entrepreneurship, and business is bad. They would look upon, some businesses, if they could put poison in the product for the product to sell more, they would and have do. So there is a natural values issue where nonprofits don't want to use entrepreneurship because they think that they don't want to use a system where they believe that system caused the problems in the first place. So there's a belief there about that. I don't buy that belief, but there is that. And a lot of the other barriers are around capacity and capability. A lot of nonprofit management are not business savvy. They don't have experience or training or in that area. Plus, they don't get anything out of it financially. So there's a bit of distraction to that, and then it's this concept called risk. So, oh boy.
Now, wait a minute. That is so funny because I'm listening to the other pieces. They're skeptical. They don't have the training. There's really no financial incentive. In other words, if someone does really well, one or two people or three in a team, and they let's say instead of raising 10 million in a year, or forget that, $1 million in the year, they now raise 10 million. Well, they're not going to share in that extra, that 10x, as entrepreneurs do. It's just that, hey, great, you got an award, you get a plaque. And yet there's now you add in risk. So it's a sort of disincentive.
Well, it is. I mean, so I've been inside like well over 1,000 nonprofits in my career, and risk the values issue and the risk issue, they're probably the top two. Why do we, so the question that you can ask themselves sometimes is, why are we going to engage in something that we believe is morally questionable in the first place? And secondly, gee, we're having enough trouble as it is. I don't know how much bandwidth do we have on the board or in senior management. Like in the United States, there's something close to 2 million nonprofits sort of bouncing around.
And by the way, just to be clear for everybody, what he's talking about, a nonprofit has a designation in a tax code, a 501c, small c3. Those are the official nonprofits. Interestingly enough, at least from my perspective, what I've been able to find out is that every school and church or religious organization is by definition a nonprofit sector organization without having to have a designation. You can, in other words, you are almost by default a 501c3, even if you didn't have to register it. However, as you said, there are 2 million plus, 2.1, 2.2 million registered 501c3s. And then there's all the millions of other things that are, give me money.
Yeah, like whist clubs and, dance clubs and, whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of people, human beings sort of collect in, pods of interest. And some of those pods of interest are pretty narrow. And some of them are, like homelessness or that kind of stuff, which are quite big. But just one last thing about risk, but what nonprofits can't seem to understand is not doing something is as risky as actually doing something. And you don't want to be stupid about moving into a particular direction. You have to be mindful and do all the normal things that you have to do to start something before you say, before you even say yes, or at least make a mindful no. But
right.
Be sort of off, and the nonprofit sector in the United States, like I say, about 2 million. If you again Google the term, the numbers are kind of range anywhere from 1.7 to 2.2, but let's say 2 million. About 2/3 of those are with budgets of less than $50,000 US a year.
Wait. Let's tell everybody again. Let's call it 2 million somethings. And 2/3 of that is approximately 1.2, 1.3 million of them annual budget 50,000 or less. Okay. Right. That's stunning.
Okay, so based on that context, what I'm about to say might make sense. I argue that nonprofits, big or small, have 3 addictions: money, attention, and self-preservation. And so much of the management and governance structures of a typical nonprofit, big or small, are driven around where's the money coming from, how's our fundraising, how's our grants, and how's our this and that, and how are we going to protect the money that we have, and how are we going to go and in a highly competitive environment. Fundraising is, I don't know of any enterprise or any activity, human activity, is more competitive than it is, because there's a finite resource. And when you have a nonprofit for about 165 people in the United States, like there's only so many foundations and there's only so much capacity. So money. So then attention is look at us and look at us and look at all the good work we're doing and all, so a lot of effort is down that road. And then a lot of effort is around self-preservation, sort of barbarians at the gates, so we do left-handed disability. We do not want to talk to or with the right-handed disability, even though we're kind of doing more or less the same things, but we're protecting our borders and protecting, and which sort of relates to the money bit. But when you think of or if any of your listeners are in the nonprofit sector, you just think of how much time and effort your organization goes to the money part, getting it, keeping it, and reporting it to your funders or whatever you're doing, the attention and self-preservation, and how much of that effort is taxed away from doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is providing service.
Well, this is genius. I wanted to say, we're talking all about fundraising and fundraising and money and things and attention. And oh, wait a minute, we have a mission. We want to provide service so that there are no homeless people in Kansas City. I'm making it up. And okay, well, that's a great noble idea. And there we have 5,823 people that are living on the streets. Okay, well, that's going to command. Well, wait a minute, we have to do that and raise money. But I mean, we can't just go to the tree or press a button and ask the good Lord to rain down manna from heaven. So this is a very interesting dilemma you've created here, and with a mentality that sees, and I'm going to make a bold statement, that sees money in the negative. In other words, money is a tool. As my great late uncle would taught me when I was 11 years old, he said to me, Barry, I like you, you're smart, you're going to do very well in business. I want to let you know something. Money is a fabulous servant. It is a god-awful master.
Indeed. Can I give you an example of how, like, a social enterprise?
Please. You got to make it succinct.
That's right. Okay, succinct. So, my organization, I was the CEO. We got involved in a partnership with a major Canadian bank, and the pitch that I made to them, like as a CEO of an organization that did work with people with special needs and disabilities, I proposed to them to create a suite of products and services for people with special needs. And it took a bit for them to wrap their minds around that, but essentially it's a long story. If we had another podcast, I'll tell you the actual details of it. But basically, what they bought was, and I'll tell you what. So I proposed to them a suite of products, and including the marketing strategy behind it, and how to activate consumers and so forth. And where 21% of the population in Canada has a special need. It's about the same in the States. So from a demographic cohort, that's pretty big. Like marketers will slit their wrists for about 4% or 5% if they can identify them. So anyway, the bank bought it. There's this long story behind it, but they bought it. They paid us a substantial amount of money just for our brand. Now, there's my little organization compared to the assets of this big bank, and we're co-branding the special products and services that we developed. So we were paid for our brand, because this wasn't about fundraising or a handout. This was eye-to-eye business deal. They knew that they couldn't activate as efficiently without our brand, or less they would have done it themselves. But here's the big thing. So we made a fair chunk of money in 7 figures on this thing. But the bigger win, and this is how a social entrepreneur thinks and how they want to measure themselves. What the bank did as part of their activation product is that they spent $250 million on placing specialized bank machines, not in all their branches, but in most of their big ones. A bank machine where the table would go up and down.
So people with their wheelchairs and this and such could access and such like that.
So what was our result?
Wow.
Was it the money that they paid us, or the $250 million that we leveraged to make life better for people with special needs?
Okay, wait a minute. So everybody that's leaning in and listening, this is the reason I asked Adrian to be on. Talk about bringing it full circle. So I'm loath to say the words I'm about to tell you, Adrian. We're at the close of our time together. I have 3 quick questions for you. Are you ready?
Yep.
Number 1 question, will you come back again?
Sure. Yes, sure.
That
This
was
is fun.
great. Okay. Number 2, Adrian, what is your most fervent desire?
My fervent desire, at my stage of life, impact and legacy. This is, kids got to university, the mortgage is paid and all that stuff. Impact and legacy. That's what I'm about right now.
Impact and legacy. That's great. Number 3, I'm going to give you a hug in front of 508,922 people around the world. Let me tell you what HUG stands for. Ready?
Okay.
Heartfelt, unlimited giving. Are you ready, sir?
All right.
1, 2, 3. And you're listening.
Thank you. That felt good.
Eye on Las Vegas, the most energetic show in the world. And we bring to you some of the most remarkable human beings on the planet. And we're going to give you a blessing from Adrian and Barry. And the blessing is go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Adrian, don't go away.